Talking. All right, let's talk about litter on campus. All right, so about a month ago, I went into a certain block of land that I call the Super Loop. It's this area of Riverside, McKinley University, and Tillotson, and it's like a route that me and the running club run around, right? So like I've noticed that this area has like a lot of trash, right? So I decided on a like negative degree weather day to just go out and grab some trash, and grab trash I did. So you can see a bunch of trash here. We got like napkins, like tissues, and like post-it notes, and just various like styrofoam. We got Bud Light, we got some cigarettes, even though this is a tobacco-free campus. I picked up the cigarette, don't report me please. Okay, so why is this important to me? Why should it be important to you? I'm sure most of you probably like think, littering, that's like a big problem, right? But there's this sort of double-think aspect when it comes to certain like ecological things, right? So like we realize that it's a problem, but we don't really do anything about it, So the purpose of this presentation is just to like get the word out, tell you what you could do, what the problems are, and so yeah. Basically, I'm gonna legitimize picking up trash for you right now. So here. Oh, I'm also sick, if you couldn't tell, so that's why I sound a little stuffed up, etc. But here we have a cute cat munching on some canned goods, I guess. But like, this is a problem, right? So animals in our community are hurt in several ways by litter, right? So like raccoons or like squirrels, you see like a fat squirrel, you're just like, oh, that's funny, that's a fat squirrel, that's cute. But like the health of like all these animals is affected negatively by the by our food scraps, and also a lot of times birds will mistake trash for food. They'll swallow it, it'll get stuck not in their throat so they can't breathe, but in their digestive system so that they can't digest anything, and then they die like that. This is a pretty graphic photo, but I didn't put it on this because I didn't think it'd go well with the pizza. Oh, hello. You missed the most important part. Okay. Anyway, so let's talk about litter's effects on plant life. All right. So, really cool, really interesting effect called algal bloom. Basically, whenever food scraps enter the water and there's like algae in the water, the algae like see all these nutrients and they start to like reproduce, and this reproducing causes oxygen to like be taken. It causes like a lack of oxygen for the fish basically in the water, which causes fish to die, which causes like the food chain to get all messed up. So basically, like food scraps in nature in our community, just like all around the place, can destabilize these food chains. And also, like if there's anything like toxic or like not healthy for, what was that? Okay, well, we got mood lighting now. But yeah, if there's anything toxic in any of the trash you throw out, it can get into water, which once again makes it go into the water cycle, which isn't good. Also, like there's like a less prominent one, like trash can smother plants, like it can cover them, cause them not to get sunlight, make them die. And also like cigarette butts and like lit matches and stuff like that can cause like forest fires if they're just like thrown willy-nilly onto like flammable materials. Okay. And this is the really interesting one. This is the one that like I think is probably the most important to talk about here. So the perception of the environment because of litter, right? So it's sort of like a self-feeding cycle, right? It's a negative feedback loop. Basically, whenever you see trash on the side of the street, you're like, oh, Muncie's just a big pile of litter. Like, no one will care if I throw this wrapper onto the ground, right? And it's like it can negatively affect like nature and animals and like the aesthetics of the community too. But like it basically just devalues our surroundings, which is not something we want, So we need to care for this environment instead of just being like apathetic, like cynical towards it. Now it's time for what can you do about it, right? So there are two like prongs to this issue, right? So there's prevention, which is like don't throw it on the ground, right? And a lot of these problems come from like people throwing stuff on the ground out of their cars. Like I'm sure a lot of the cigarette butts are that, or like bags being thrown on the ground and then they get carried by wind to like fences, right? And they get caught on fences, and that's where they stay forever. But I can't really stop that from happening. So like my main message to you is that you should like pick it up. Like basically, if you just see a piece of trash on the ground, there's trash cans all around campus, but like people don't just take the initiative to just like pick it up and like throw it away, so it's not necessary to be the hero. What I meant by that, here, let's go back to this slide. So there are certain like things that I tried to pick up and throw away throughout this journey that were like really not necessary for the average like pedestrian like yourself walking around. So like this McDonald's bag, like I picked it up out of the snow and like ripped. It was just a total like failure, like because I had to reach in the snow and like almost freeze my fingers off. This big piece of metal, it might be hard to tell like how big it is, but like that's like the curb, right? And like in real life it was like this big, right? So I'm just like walking down the side of the street with like this big piece of metal on me, which is probably all right. But then there's also, it's sort of low resolution, so you can't see it very well. But there's this like ramen bag, or the like how ramen when it comes to like 20 packs comes in these plastic things. This was like in the ice, right? And it was like frozen into like the ground, like in a big ice cube or something. So yeah, I tried to pick that up and it just ripped. But then I went back a couple of days later and I was able to get the rest of it. So yeah, all of this trash that I took pictures of, by the way, I picked up and threw away. I'm not asking for your applause or anything. No, okay. Yeah, I'm the one. I'm the one. You don't have to be the hero, but I am. Okay. Next, it's like, just take this message with you, share it with other people. Like lead by example. If you like do a nice thing, then people, it'll like set the cycle the other way. So, does anyone have any questions or anything about this? No, pretty straightforward, right? So yeah, that's the end of my presentation.